The livest one, like I'm from Bedford-Stuyvesant, one of the realest, straight from the Ave, straight from Phillips. Greatly appreciate all the support. We're getting very close to 150,000 subscribers. First, I'd like to thank God, my beautiful family, my mother, father, my friends that really truly support us. I'd like to also thank YouTube for allowing and creating this option of going live, allowing people all over the country and the world to tune in. Obviously, it is a Monday, and obviously on the marquee, the X Huxtable star, Bill Cosby's son, actually, in the very important show that people watch all over the country and the world. Michael Warner has passed away at the age of 54 in a swimming accident in Costa Rica. Very sad news. We thought we'd go live about this issue. It is starting to drizzle out here. Greatly appreciate all the support. What's going on? I kind of figured it'd be a little bit more people on live because the events of Michael Warner passing away at 54 years old. That's very sad news, obviously. A lot of things are going on in the industry, too. It's an artist by the name of Cash Out. Now, many people heard about Cash Out, but Cash Out was somewhat of a one-hit wonder, but he's a success story as far as the music industry goes. Cash Out was actually sentenced today to life in prison. Now, in my opinion, his final statements, he had never mentioned Jesus in those statements. They're just going to say that he needs to repent, and he didn't take any responsibility in those final statements. So that's what we're always talking, what's illegal and what's legal. What's illegal and what's legal, not what's emotional and what's emotionally tied to you. You go in a court of law and you're talking about what's emotionally tied, I think, in the situations. And a lot of those different situations, if you're emotionally tied to something, it's not illegal or illegal. But very sad news. Yes, very sad news. Michael Warner passed away. And he was the best known as the star on Huxtables. Bill Cosby even talked about how this felt like his son dying all over again. Bill Cosby's son did pass away. And I know Bill Cosby, I don't know what type of condition he's in these days. Obviously, he was released from prison. And it was a whole scandal behind the Cosby Show. We're not talking the Jell-O pudding pops, but we're actually talking the actual Cosby Show with Bill Cosby going to prison and now being released and is at home. So, yes, very sad news. Michael Warner. Hello, beautiful. Hello, my friends. I greatly appreciate everybody tuning in. We're getting close to 150,000. But if you haven't checked your social media, it's all over social media, CNN, ESPN, all the major companies. TMZ has reported that Michael Warner has passed away in a drowning episode in Costa Rica. And this was a real life episode. This is not actually one of the Cosby episodes. That is a very sad story. And obviously, I just talked about Cash Out. Now, here at this page, we talk law. We talk an array of different things and different events. And obviously, this is a very sad event. If you are, let's say, for instance, you grew up in the 80s and you watched that Cosby Show, even in the 90s, as you watched that Cosby Show, you know, that is something that was very dear to many people. watching Cosby's growing up, all those scenes with Bill Cosby, his wife, and all the cast members that was involved in that Great American Show. We'd like to send our regards out to his family, obviously, and the cast members that felt like family to him, and all the people that really do miss this individual and feel some type of way about his passing. You know, unfortunately, a photography plug, when we take photos of celebrities, we kind of end up being the obituary. And we never had any photos of Michael Warner, and we were never interested because it never actually crossed our mind. But if we would have seen him out, we would have been interested in his stories, would have been very interested in what he had going on, and very interested in how his life is going. I think that he represented something very important, that American family that a lot of people didn't want to see, that wealthy American family that a lot of people just didn't want to see. And he reminded me of my own older brother, Ahmad. I think that's no secret. But very sad news. And, you know, I know a lot of people are dealing with this, and people might have not knew him personally, but they saw him on the screen. And as they saw him on the big screen, obviously, way back in the 80s and the 90s and even early 2000s, there'll probably be a lot of reruns happening, obviously going on right now on social media everywhere. Everybody's posting and talking about this very sad news with Malcolm passing away due to a swimming accident. He had some very touching videos that he actually posted right before his death. He seemed always positive. And I did want to say, he did not seem to be, when he came after all those years off of the Cosby Show, you would think he'd be driving a Porsche. I'm not saying he didn't, but what I'm saying is you would think he would have on those shades, or he would be very Hollywood, and I don't think he was. I think actually he was very real human being, that Malcolm was just a very real human being. He was not one of those individuals that was what you thought he would be, letting the money go to his head. It seemed like a great father. He didn't seem very Hollywood at all. It didn't seem like he was riding around in Ferraris and Porsches and doing MTV Cribs videos. You know, he wasn't ever seen in rap music videos or nothing of the sort. He just seemed like a straight up, what they call a stand-up guy, you know, a father guy, really cared, wasn't putting on, didn't have cosmetic surgery or anything of the sort. He seemed to be a very normal individual, a very normal person, homebody, and just seemed to be a great individual overall. I never heard anything at all bad about Malcolm Warner. So let us know what you are thinking. This is a forum where your comment does count. We do care about what you are feeling right here at this moment. We know a lot of people are going through a lot in this country and all over the world. And with Malcolm's death, I know that hurts and it tugs the heart to have that television star kind of taken from you, your favorite American. I cannot think of another. I can't actually think of another person that actually was America's favorite son. And he was America's favorite son, even though he was not, you know what. So, you know, this is something that really touches me personally, because Malcolm seemed to be one of those type of individuals that really cared about his family. And he seemed to be one of those type of individuals that really cared about people, and his daughter and his cast members. He seemed to care so much about all of his cast members. And Bill Cosby, he seemed to always reach out to him and be in some type of connection with him. And even when Bill was going through his court proceedings and the world seemed to be against Bill Cosby, Malcolm was there. And one of his statements kind of touched my heart. In one of his statements that he said that, yes, he doesn't approve of any type of violence against women. But he said what Bill Cosby was going through at the time hurt him just as much. And that he was hurt so bad from the events of Bill Cosby going to prison that he kind of sprouted out into depression that he eventually beat and came back to himself and becoming one of the more prolific actors in American history. Malcolm stood there, one of the best in the world at his craft, and never had to do anything else, even though he wrote more stories and played in different movies. But as the Huxtables, as that Black Americans, I think that show was supposed to be out of Chicago or New York. A doctor for a father, a figure that America really truly never wanted to admit. One of the best young actors that America has ever seen. And his life to be shortened so quickly. There's a lot of people out there that's hurting. That's what Photography Plug is here. And we really want you to understand that we're here to care about your feelings or what you're going through in life, whatever it may be. But in that Black community, it is very important. I even try to teach my own son how to swim. But it doesn't matter. But the important part of this is that we must learn from any mistake that may have or may have not happened. Maybe it was unavoidable. A lot of the news outlets said he was caught in a current, possibly swept away and found on Sunday. And now this is Monday, and obviously this Monday, the news hit the fan that one of America's favorite people, actors, Malcolm, is no longer with us anymore. But what he left behind was a true legacy, a legacy that shows that Black America stands for excellence and intelligence. And even the young Black outlaws or thugs, or whatever you want to call them, even stand for something more than what we can say. And if this same thing could happen to you, it is all possible, my friends. If you're a person and you're worth 150,000 and 200,000, and this is a page about capitalism, and you're going on a lot of these extravagant trips, you have to think about it. You're risking something. You're risking your life at all of these events, whether it's a jet ski, whether it's in Jamaica, whether, me personally going overseas to Ethiopia, being that Nipsey Hussle that Malcolm was. And what I mean by that is being that Nipsey Hussle that Malcolm was a person that lives on the edge, that every day something can possibly happen. And when it does, we're all in shock. But when you're traveling, even with you and your family, and you're swimming or you're scuba diving, it's all high risk. You're bungee jumping, zip lining. You're doing all the things that you want to do in your life. You finally got out there and got out the house. It was a very great proverb that a great American said was, would you rather live 100 years in a corner and done nothing at all, or would you rather be like Malcolm and possibly live 54 years and done everything? My friends, it is up to you. We can't sway you either way, but we can say that life is a risk. And when you have more money, you might drive a faster car. You might be in a relationship with a more beautiful woman. A more beautiful woman brings more people attracted to that woman. A beautiful car brings a little bit more attention to you. Having more money, I guess like the great Frank White, Biggie Smalls said, more money, more problems. And I think this is what it was, my friends. When you have more money, you take more risk. And Malcolm had more money, and he took the risk. At risk of that great American citizen, that great free American citizen that showed and proved as an actor to be one of the best young actors that America has ever seen. He showed and proved to be one of the better actors of the African-American actors when African-American actors wasn't even able to be cast because of the color of their skins in this country. A very sad and true fact of America's not much changed. And Bill Cosby Show showed it. And a lot of people talked about Bill Cosby's prosecution by saying that, yes, it was just a witch hunt on Black America and Black excellence, saying that Bill Cosby, that Bill Cosby many people were saying that Bill Cosby's whole trial was a witch hunt on Black America. And I know sometimes we talk Sean Diddy Combs when we come here and we talk to each other, and I read your comments and I get into the hearts of who you are, because I really care about who you are and where you're going in life, and that somebody's out there, they might be going through something, or somebody might be rich and deciding to go scuba diving. It could be the last time you go. It could be the last time you see your friends. You want to take that jet to Costa Rica, or you want to go to the Bahamas. Maybe you want to go to the tribes of Ethiopia. Your friends, life is a risk. As those gentlemen across the street are suffocating in America, in the most affluent society, like our great American citizen, Martin Luther King said. So Malcolm represented a lot of things. And one thing he represented was Black excellence. He represented what Black excellence looked like, what it sounded like. And he seemed to be a joyful person, an individual that was very joyful, a person that always seemed to smile. And even one of his last videos, Malcolm said, life is lifing. And I think that relates to so many people out here like me and you, just normal people. Life is just lifing. And that's kind of like a tearjerker for all of us. In the next coming days, we'll be seeing more on social media about Malcolm's life. And we'll learn more and more, and be so much more literature to learn. And one day you'll go to Harvard, and you go to some of these white supremacist colleges, and you'll see Malcolm's face. That Black Huxtable family proved to America that we was not exactly what you wanted us to be, or shaped or form. The doctors, the lawyers, the engineers, the educators, the computer programmers, the great American citizens that made changes in this world, whether they wore a uniform or not. Malcolm never wore a uniform, but he changed this world. And that's no low cut. My own daughter wears a uniform. She works hard every day. Guys, this is a sad day in America. And personally, if I had a flag nearby, I would put it on half staff, because I personally believe that this is American tragedy that could have been avoided. But when it's your time to go, it's your time to go. And unfortunately, this was Malcolm's time to go, because we don't have eternity on this planet. No, we don't. We just have what you call a reality of life. And so many lives cut short. In summer 2025, we'll never know one of the best actors in American and world history. I'll be reading some of these comments. Would be losing his life in Costa Rica due to a swimming accident that America will never forget. his face as that young 15-year-old, 17-year-old boy changed America and made Americans look at black Americans differently. Malcolm was one of the first pioneers before social media. He was one of the most important pioneers before social media, like an Ice Cube. Somebody talked about Kendrick Lamar and Ice Cube, and they said Kendrick Lamar is more influential through the music. That is just not a fact. Mr. Ice Cube was there before social media. He was there shaping it. Like Mr. Mark Cuban. These guys have started something that America looks at as great. I'll be reading some of these very important comments. Very sad night tonight. I greatly appreciate all the support. I greatly appreciate all the people that's tuning in. Rest in peace to Malcolm Warner. Somebody just commented, many souls rest in peace. And we'd like to use this platform to say that I know somebody's out there hurting tonight. Maybe they lost a loved one. Maybe he was your favorite actor growing up. Maybe you wanted to be like him growing up. Maybe you were born in the 90s and you were 5 years old and he was your favorite actor. And maybe you didn't have a mother or father. Maybe you lived with your grandmother and you looked at Malcolm on that fuzzy TV and now all your dreams have came true. Maybe Malcolm was one of the people that influenced you more than anybody else. Maybe Malcolm was the person that you always adored and looked up to. And maybe he was a person that you looked up to and idolized. Rest in peace to a great American citizen, a great person, a person that shaped America's history by proving that we're not what you want us to be. We're not saying that the ghetto doesn't run the world. And me personally, I believe to get the money out here on the streets, that some people say, well, the rich hold the money. My friends, if the rich hold the money, it's worthless. The money has to circulate. So let's keep that in mind when we are talking about somebody who lost their life due to an extravagant lifestyle. That's exactly what happened. And when you're living an extravagant lifestyle, unfortunately, it's a higher risk. If you're taking a helicopter, my friends, it's a higher risk. If you're taking a plane or you're getting in your car every day, it's a higher risk. It's a higher risk. It's a greater probability every time you leave the house. But never forget, it can be just as dangerous. It can be just as dangerous just walking to the store. You walking to the store could be just as dangerous as you going to Africa or going to Europe or going to Costa Rica. You just walk into the curve market, it could be the end. So when it's your time to go, my friends, it's just your time to go. But Malcolm seemed to be the type of African-American or African that kept to itself, was a private citizen after the fame. CNN talked about it, ESPN talked about it, Al Jazeera even talked about Malcolm and how influential that acting role was, being an African-American at the time in the 80s and the 90s, by saying Bill Cosby was going to buy the whole entire network of Fox, Universal Network. I don't have the paperwork in front of me at the time, but they said Bill Cosby had the opportunity to buy some of these networks. A lot of these networks are owned by you-know-who. So now, missing that part of America and that American flag, that Malcolm, when you look up and you see what shapes the Halle Berrys of the world, the Malcolms of the world, the Willows of the world, the Andy Warhols of the world, the Reginald Lewises of the world, the photography plugs of the world, the CNN, the ESPNs of the world, the Wells Fargos of the world, some of the most influential people in American history of the world. And Malcolm was that. If he was a welterweight, he would have been the champion of the world. He'd have been Mayweather. If he was middleweight, in the prime, he would have been Roy Jones. Even Roy Jones came forward and talked about Sugar Ray Leonard. I was one of the biggest Sugar Ray Leonard fans. Sugar Ray Leonard let me down many of times, many of nights. He did hit Hagler. But Malcolm was that. If he was an actor and you put him on a scale, you'll have to say he was a Mayweather. That he was his finesse, and he was a natural actor. And he was one of the most influential actors in world history. He changed the shape of what we thought of what an African-American actor. This was not Lever to Beaver. Even though you might have watched Lever to Beaver, and a friend of mine talked about Barney, and Barney being that actor, one of the most influential actors, that Barney Fife. It might have been a comedian, it might have been funny, he might have been a weakling, but he changed American history. And exactly like Malcolm did, along with the Kravitzes and all the people that really represented that show, the Bill Cosbys, the Jello Pudding Pops, the companies, they moved forward. Even before Donald Trump was our 34 convicted felon president, he was just the president of the United States of America the first term. But Malcolm really showed in his acting roles how good of an actor and how passionate he was in acting. And he didn't try to become such of a Hollywood where you see him riding down the street with a Mercedes-Benz and a Ferrari and his chains and in the rap videos. He didn't do the Sean Diddy Combs dance. He wasn't in Biggie Smalls videos, although he could have been. He wasn't Tupac Shakur's wingman, and he wasn't on the court with Michael Jackson, Michael Jordan, trying to shoot hoops, although he was that influential. When Michael Jordan won the championship of the world, there sit one of the better actors that shaped America in world history. Malcolm there was shaped on top of the world. Imagine you watching Michael Jordan and then you watching Malcolm. That's how big he was. That you're watching Michael Jordan play and win the championship, but when Jordan goes off, who's more influential? Malcolm. See, Malcolm was there more influential, showing the world his talent, showing America and people that look down on the black race in America that we come from wealth, not just in the pocketbook, not just in your purse, but the wealth that comes naturally from our thick hair, our thick lips, our thick accent. See, it was a beautiful thing that he was doing. It was a wonderful thing how he changed it all. And of course, he had help with great actors. And we're not taking anything away from all the actors that's still with us here. Bill Cosby, Zoe Kravitz, Lenny Kravitz's daughter, or Kravitz. Guys, these generations are kind of glued together, so I apologize. But Malcolm was there when you turned off. When you turned off Michael Jordan, you watched Malcolm. And if you look at it and you look back on it, you probably watched Malcolm more than you watched Jordan. You probably watched Malcolm more than you watched Jordan. Be careful who you think shaped this country. Be careful who you think is number one. And you say photography plug, you must be out of your mind if you think Malcolm was as big as Jordan. Pull up how long you watched a basketball game and how many episodes you watched of the Cosbys. That man was even more than what we can imagine a man can be, especially 30 years ago. 30 years ago. Maybe 40 years ago when he played that part in the 80s. In the 1980s, when Jordan went off, Malcolm came on TV. And he wowed the world, and you went to school and you put your book bag on, and you felt a little bit more comfortable knowing that it was a face on TV that represented you. This was before Barack Obama. This was far before Barack Obama ever became president of the United States of America. Malcolm was on TV. He represented, Bill Cosby represented a black family, a knit, close family that wasn't unintelligent. They represented and made us laugh and made us cry. In many episodes, maybe your stepfather or your father, his favorite episode when Bill was there with the raincoat and he kept going back and forth to the store. There's a lot of different episodes with the Cosbys, and I'm sure on social media it's obviously lighting up right now tonight. And this is what we're here for just for you to hear a voice that's on your side for once. Not a voice that's against you, not a voice that's makes you feel bad, but a voice that makes you feel good inside, and a voice that really cares about who you are and where you're going in life in a healthy way, in an intelligent way. And I think Malcolm showed how intelligent and healthy with his big, amazing smile every time he seemed to light up the whole entire room. Malcolm was that, lighting up the room, letting people feel so amazing and changing lives. Shows like the Cosby Shows even dropped the crime rate, my friends. Shows like the Cosby Shows competed with the Chicago Bulls. When the Chicago Bulls was on top of the world. There's not many people you could say who was competing against Michael Jordan. It's not too many people. It's not too many people that you can say that was competing against Michael Jordan. You say, well, how was Malcolm competing against Michael Jordan? I will say it again, my friends. When you turn your channel or Michael Jordan went off and won the championship in '86, there was Malcolm competing against Michael Jordan in his prime. And the numbers showed that the Bill Cosby Show had more numbers than the Chicago Bulls in the prime. You don't get better than beating Michael Jordan. That's how influential acting is. The only thing more influential than acting is music. Number 3 is sports. It was an individual by the name of Kevin Gates. I think many people know who Kevin Gates is. He said LeBron James is the best basketball player in the world. So what? He's not a musician. Now, we like LeBron. He's an amazing person, and he gives back to his community. But any basketball, Stephen Curry could never compete with Kanye West. Guys. Stephen Curry could never compete with the scope of how music is heard all over the world. Now, acting is a thing where, like a Brad Pitt, an Angelina Jolie, Malcolm is beating them tonight. Can you imagine a person that did a show 40-some-odd years ago is beating Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie? Do you remember when TMZ had to redo everything and they said, no, we're going to be more like Photography Plug. We're going for the smaller actors. And what do you mean? You remember it was a time where Angelina and Brad Pitt was everything Hollywood knew before Hollywood and Will Smith kind of went out of business, before the slap with Chris Rock. Why the slap happened with Chris Rock? Because Hollywood and that whole thing that Malcolm helped build Hollywood competed with Will Smith. He was there when Will Smith was running the show out in Hollywood. Malcolm was there on the Cosby Show, being the Huxtables, competing with the best actors in the world. And he won. And he beat them all. He's the undercard that you never heard about. He's the underdog. He's the Pernell Whitaker of his time. Malcolm is a pure legend and legendary for shaping what America looks at as a black family. There's never been a show after that that depicted a black family in a way with so much class, so much prestige, so much laughter, so much love, so much care, so much appreciation for the black culture. That's when we talk Kanye's and we talk Kim's and we talk about Travis's and we talk about all these individuals that shape black culture. Malcolm is on the top 5 of that list. That's how big of an actor he is. That's why CNN is talking about it. That's why ESPN is talking about it. That's why Al Jazeera is talking about it. That's why people all over the world tonight is posting on social media how Malcolm acted and how he competed. A young boy that walked into the studio that never had a chance became one of the biggest actors that America has ever seen. Malcolm became that champion. He became that Mayweather of his time. He became that Mike Tyson, that Jordan, that Jackson. When we talk about Bo Jackson, when we talk about Jose Canseco, when we talk about Oscar De La Hoya in his prime, when we talk before Barack Obama, before we can imagine what a black American president looked like, Jay-Z was there. Before we even knew who Barack Hussein Obama was, we realized the only thing we can imagine of being a president of the United States of America was a Jay-Z. Because Jay-Z was popular before Barack Obama was popular. See, the people that wasn't around might not understand how it actually went. They wasn't the ones that was putting on the book bags after seeing Malcolm act, after seeing the Cosby shows, and what it made you feel like was not what it made you feel like once you walked into that schoolhouse. Brown versus Board of Education. That young lady walked into that courthouse in Mississippi, in Alabama, and they said the saliva was running off of her dress. And most of the movies depicted Brown versus Board of Education. They depicted it as when she got into school, everything was okay. No, when that young woman got into that schoolhouse, the torment continued. Now, it took about 30 years ahead of this time for Malcolm to start acting, to start changing the ideals of what people see a black American as. It was one night I left here, this very point, very recently, and I got close to home and all the cars started going real slow and it got real quiet. And one car rolled by and they screamed out the window and they said, nigger. So this happened just a week ago. So just imagine what he felt like when he went into those studios. What you feel like as a so-called second-class citizen. It's not a such thing. The black American citizen is the most powerful second powerful citizen in world history is none other. It's not the Chinese man. It's not the Mexican, the black American citizen. Malcolm was that, being at the very top, better than a Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. Bigger, better, faster, quicker, smarter, more intelligent, more views. You can add it up. We're not saying that America gave out a bigger purse, but we're just talking the influence of Malcolm, how he changed, how he shaped, how he became one of the most influential actors in world history. Somebody just commented, Nations, Raiders Nations. See your comments. Somebody say, who cares about Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie? The reason why I mentioned Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, if we do a statistics on anything, one of the biggest mathematical equations is the top 5 rappers. I know you say, well, my friend is, and we know your friend is. He's a great artist. But we're talking record sales. We're talking stadiums. We're talking... So when you're talking acting, we're talking more views, right? How many people viewed Bill Cosby, The Huxtables, compared to a Brad Pitt movie? How many people are on social media right now? Way more than are at the movies, my friends. Way more people are on social media right now, 1 billion times more than at any theater in this country. It's not 2002. Things have changed. So the reason why I say Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, that is the pinnacle of what people say acting. Halle Berry. Malcolm was competing with Halle Berry, and even probably more watched. Right now, proving it. Unfortunately, he had to lose his life to kind of have all of these flowers. I'm sure he wasn't paid like a Brad Pitt or a Halle Berry. When I went to California, of course, I saw Halle Berry. And I saw, every time I go to a city, it's a school. You're learning. And it was 30 photographers all surrounding Halle Berry, moving an inch at a time. All of these photographers was, you know what, 30 of them would move. As soon as Halle Berry moved, if you was over there, it'd be 30. It'd be one person in the middle, which you couldn't see, which would be Halle Berry. And it'd be 30 people around her. 30 filming. Not all of them, some of them have pens in their hands. Some of them have different agendas. But 30. So you have to think about the budgets these big movies have. Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, probably their budget, they probably spent $1 billion to make $3 billion. They didn't just make the money. The Cosby Show was dang near low budget. So how many people are viewing that right now compared to going and Google Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie? It's not 2005. Nobody has been checking for those guys. I remember the Johnny Depp trial changed American history to show TMZ we're not after Johnny Depp anymore. That the days of chasing Johnny Depp is over. The Costa is now making Time magazine. He's making Time magazine. So the Costa is now making Time magazine. They're making Time magazine, not a Brad Pitt. Of course, they're going to give them the first place. But they spent $1 billion. They wasn't on a low-budget Bill Cosby show. They spent millions and billions of dollars to shape and try to make this celebrity bigger than they actually were. And they were successful at a time. And now Hollywood's out of business. Today, Hollywood is out of business. Social media has taken over. That is just a reality. We're getting a lot of rest in peace Malcolms, Rest in peace, Malcolm. He was a very intelligent person. He was a person who really cared about his family and a person who cared about people. A person that became an actor at a very young age and shaped America's history. We'll never forget how Malcolm acted. Reminded me of my own brother. One of my oldest, not my oldest brother, but one of my brothers. Malcolm reminded us all of him. And even people would joke and say, we were like the Huxtables of the hood. And that made me feel so good. Some of my friends that saw my family doing a little bit better than theirs, they say we were like the Huxtables. So it does reflect, and I do understand. I can feel the pain of it all. And our regards go out to his amazing and beautiful family. And these accidents can be avoided. But when you live a luxury lifestyle and you going to Costa Rica and you going to the Bahamas and you're getting on those jet skis and you're four-wheeling and you're mountain climbing and you're zip lining and you're smoking hookah and you're having fun and you're enjoying yourself, those are high-risk endeavors. Even when I was in Los Angeles or New York, this is a high-risk thing. You're risking your life a lot more than you would be if you was at home. This is just a reality. But I always like to say this, my friends, is the most dangerous thing you can do is walk to the corner store. So why even worry about the risk? If we go out here and we worry about the risk of life every day, guys, we wouldn't be accomplishing anything. It has to be something that we're trying to accomplish. Now, I'm not saying accomplishments are just in Costa Rica or the Bahamas or Nassau, Bahamas, or Punta Cana, or wherever you may go, or New York City or Manhattan or Brooklyn. I'm not saying that that is just the only success. But I am saying that a great actor has lost their life, and I think he would be remembered for a very long time. I think people are starting to understand the influence of black actors all over the world. The Will Smiths, the Halle Berrys, the very important black actors. I don't think African Americans ever had a problem with show business, meaning as long as you dancing or kicking, then, you know, Michael Jackson, African American, being one of the most famous people in the entire world. Obviously, Michael Jackson is one of the most famous people in the entire world, and obviously he's an African American. And even saying that, Malcolm competed against Michael Jackson. That's right. When you turn off Thriller, guess who was on TV? Malcolm and the Cosbys. So you think about who he really competed, who he was in competition with. Some people never get to play. Some people never get a chance to get on the ball field and get to play. Some people just never get to play. That is a reality of the fact of life. Everybody doesn't get an opportunity that they can take hold and actually get on the field. He was a very driven person. I don't want to say he was lucky, because he had to be driven to land those acting parts. It wasn't easy for Malcolm to land the Cosby Show. It had to be very difficult for him to get into those positions. I think we'll be undermining his success by saying it was easy or he was lucky. I think he was a driven person, very intelligent person, very humble individual that changed the way we all looked at America. This is exactly what he did, was change the way we all looked at acting. So I'll be reading some of these comments. I greatly appreciate we're getting close to 150,000 subscribers. All organic, my friends. This is an organic page. We're not paying for views. We're not paying for you guys to. You can always go to $ at photography plug and donate. We'll greatly, greatly appreciate it. Somebody said, I appreciate your community. Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate you. We greatly appreciate you. You can always go to $ at photography plug and donate. That's very important when we are talking about a person that touched all of our hearts in some type of way. When we go to sleep tonight, we'll be thinking about Malcolm. We'll be thinking about Malcolm, and we'll be praying for his family. And we'll be thinking about those episodes. And, next will be probably his funeral. And then, his wake or his funeral. So I think this is going to be, wherever it's going to be in New York, or I don't know for sure where he's actually going to be buried at, but I'm sure it's going to be star-studded, obviously, including, obviously, Bill Cosby, his wife, and all the cast members that are still around. Raven Simone was a very beautiful young actor that changed the way we thought about what we could accomplish. I said it here at Photography Plug. She changed the way we thought about television. Raven Simone was one of the most beautiful, talented little girls that you can ever run across. And Kravis, Lenny Kravitz, which is the Kravitz, I can't think of her name, last name Kravitz, was one of the, I apologize, Lisa Bonet. Lisa Bonet, one of the most beautiful. Now, we knew that, coming up, looking up to Lisa Bonet and her whole dynasty that she's built, starting from the Cosby Show. So Lisa Bonet was a key part of that success. Raven Simone, she was a very key part of the cuteness and the laughter. And obviously Malcolm loses his life due to a swimming accident that happened in Costa Rica. Now, this is brand new and fresh news out of Costa Rica, and it happened Sunday night. So Malcolm Warner did lose his life, unfortunately, due to a terrible swimming accident. So we're going to remain and stay live for a little bit longer. It's not a very fruitful night. For instance, obviously it's a downer night. It's a Monday night. And that Monday night Monday represents Entrepreneur Monday. We need to start getting back on that. Yes, the Cosby Show was the best of our people. It shows our brilliant family and humility to the world who sees us as low. Very good comment. My parents watched the Cosby Show every Thursday. We called it Family Night. That was the favorite character on the show. This is horrible. Yes, this is very horrible news. This gentleman has lost his life at the age of 54 years old. That is very sad. Obviously, very fresh news. Obviously, like I said, the Cosby Show was a show that touched all of us so very deeply that I don't even know if we know the magnitude of how that show touched us, especially if you were African American and imagine if you were from the hood. Like I said, one of the biggest compliments I got from one of my friends, he said we were like the Huxtables. But the only characters would be my brother. I don't think I would be in that show because it was just him, Lisa Bonet, Raven Simone, and it wasn't really any male. It was a lot of funny characters on that show. Just an amazing show, an amazing actor, and I just feel like that we lost somebody that's very important to not just American society or capitalism, what we talk about, and not just Hollywood and acting, but I think that America has lost a great father, a great friend, a person who stayed himself. I don't think any of us will have that type of money and wouldn't want to flaunt that type of money. I never seen him with a big, thick Cuban link chain on. Hey, sweetie. I never seen him with a huge Cuban link chain on, or, you know, I never seen him with any of that whatsoever. But yes, very, very sad show. I kind of got thrown off a little bit because obviously people need help out here. And, you know, sometimes I try to give back. And, you know, doing the show, I try not to because it throw off what I'm thinking about. But she asked me for some money, and I try to reach for it, but she was gone by the time, I'm sure. I'll see her on the way home. So she'll get whatever she can get from me. That's very important always to donate at $ photography plug. We do have plans to kind of clean up the streets. We're going to clean up the city. We're going to do a lot of things. We're not state funded. We're an independent company. We are the photography plug, and we're getting close to 150,000 subscribers. But tonight, a very sad night. On the marquee, you see it yourself. Malcolm-Jamal Warner passed away. He passed away due to a swimming accident that was happening in Costa Rica. He was on vacation with his family. If you think about ways to go out, that is a way that you can, like, if you're on a vacation with your family, I would think that that's kind of like the typical way that anybody could imagine to go out, like on a vacation. I mean, so many people probably die at work, overworking. You know, it was an individual lady. She worked so many hours, and she's no longer with us, unfortunately, because she's been working so many hours. So you think about if you're on vacation with your family and something happens. Yes, it's tragic, it's sad, but at least he was doing something that he enjoyed. He was with his family that he cared about. He was a father. He talked about how his daughter, he even talked about how his daughter actually gave him like a yellow flower, and he was talking with the cap on his head, and he just seemed like he was just enjoying life. He was enjoying being a father. He was enjoying being this Hall of Fame actor, if you say. You know, he seemed like he was just enjoying being alive. But like he said, life is lifing. And I think life is lifing for all of us, and not just for famous actors like Malcolm. I think life is lifing for so many of us all. You know, that life is just lifing. And I think that's one of his last quotes, that life was lifing, and it's going to continue to life for all of us. Very wise person told me, he said, nobody's going to make it out of here in 100% great health. We all will one day not be here. And we'll be moving on to wherever that may be. So thinking of that, we reflect on a life that is so showing off. So thinking of that, we reflect on a life that was cut way too short. But I do want to remind people to keep in mind that when you become successful and you become this millionaire that you always wanted to be, and you buy that new Porsche, you know why the insurance is so high on that Porsche? Because the likelihood of you wrecking it. So the Ferrari that you own, to Wallow, to Gilly. Now, Wallow and Gilly are two people that think they made it out the streets. Unfortunately, Gilly just lost his son. That was a very tragic story about Gilly, the kid, the rapper, ex-rapper, now podcaster, losing his son. We want to save those individuals from the street. This is the street corner. Social media is a new street, my friends. If you're out there, I don't care what you're buying. I don't care how you got it. If you are a lawyer and you're an attorney and you buy a Ferrari, they're going to still say that insurance is high, because guess what? Everybody's going to start looking at you. And guess what? You become a target. So when I mentioned Wallow and Gilly, I mentioned that they're still in the street life. In their head, it's legal. No, it doesn't matter if you're a rapper, whatever you are, if you're a public figure and you're buying these super sports cars, which I personally drive a decent sports car. But when you're driving these $250,000 cars and things of that sort, you just become the next victim of the streets. That is just a reality. So, keep that in mind. When you do become successful, you get all the money you want, you buy that motorcycle that you want. Every time you get on that motorcycle, it's a risk. Jet ski is a risk. If you're at the beach and you're like Malcolm and you're in Costa Rica, it was a risk. It was a high-risk endeavor. I'm sure he had great insurance. That is very important to have insurance. If you have insurance, I think it's important, but I don't think you have to think about stress what happens after you're gone. So, I mean, that's a personal thing. If you have life insurance, if you don't, some people say just throw me in a little box and just let me go. Other people want a huge funeral. I think it's a thing that maybe you have to prepare yourself. Prepare yourself for not just life when you wake up, but prepare yourself just in case you don't make it out today. Yeah, prepare yourself for death. Don't just prepare yourself for life. I think everybody, when I get up in the morning, I say, well, just in case it doesn't work out for me today, just in case everything goes wrong and I don't make it back home, or, I want myself to look like this. I think it's kind of like, preparing yourself for something that is impossible not to happen. We're all going to pass away. So I think being prepared, and I'm sure that his family had insurance, and that the Cosbys, obviously, they're millionaires, multimillionaires. But the more important part of all this is how he made us feel on that big screen. And I think he was just that cuddly teddy bear that everybody clinged to, that everybody kind of looked up to, especially if you was in school in 1980s, if you was in elementary school and you was going to school, maybe you might have put on ODB and you were going to football practice. Maybe you showed up at practice. Shame on you if you said to who? The old dirty bastard, Brooklyn crew. And you got up there and you tried your best and you got in your stance and you lift weights and you did everything, but you still got crushed out there. You still got brutalized out there on that football field. But you still had in the back of your mind those Cosbys. Just in case I can't make it out here, maybe I can make it in acting. So maybe this is a person that influenced many actors all around the world to become actors. I think we're going to find out these amazing stories about people who idolized Malcolm, who looked up to Malcolm, who thought he was a wonderful person, who actually cared about the person itself. And like I said, and I can't say it more, he did not show to be a boasted person, to brag, to go out there and say, I was on the Cosbys. Like I think many people would. He would have the right to. If you're competing against Michael Jordan, in other words, if Michael Jordan goes off and your show goes on, you're kind of competing against Jordan. He kind of competed against the Bulls. He kind of competed against some of the best, Reggie Miller. Now, the NBA is so far much better in advance today. The players are so much better. Even AAU players in the early 2000s was almost as good as the NBA players. And with Stephen Curry and what's the guy that's dating Megan Thee Stallion? I can't think of his name. Klay Thompson. And Klay Thompson, some of the best basketball players in the world. Don't get me wrong. But the league has changed. You don't know many players. In 5 years, you won't know 10 players. It's kind of like this with acting. You only know a few great actors. And when I talk Brad Pitt, I talk Malcolm. And I did it for a reason. Because that's the type of level we have to look at each other on. And not just comparing him to a Rick Ross in whatever Rick Ross movie he dropped, But comparing him to the real actors that are perceived as the greatest actors of all times. And that would be, obviously, a Brad Pitt or Angelina Jolie. Now, like I said before, Malcolm was not that type of actor. He wasn't a 007 He wasn't that type of actor. He was the more so of an actor that we never seen before. A character that just played this person that really touched people's hearts all over the world. And I would like to see in a few days on how that changes the way people think, feel about acting. Will it spark a little buzz in Hollywood? Hollywood's never coming back. The reason is because of social media. Social media has taken over. So it's like you're trying to go backwards into time. We can't bring baseball back. You can't name 20 baseball players, and especially if you go overseas, it's definitely a local sport. That doesn't mean baseball players don't get paid, but that does mean that the sport is kind of gone, especially minor league baseball teams. It's kind of outdated. Hockey leaguers. Now, we understand hockey wins it sometimes, but majority of people watch football and basketball. Majority of people. We're not saying that baseball is out forever, but we are saying people have moved on. So to keep that in mind, and I'll be finishing off this live very soon. But to keep Malcolm in mind when you go to sleep, I know you're going to be on social media thinking about this all night. You have to think about what he changed in that life that he lived. I had a great friend of mine said one of his friends said he didn't want to go out to the club. And he said, well, why? He said, he's half 100. He said, oh, okay, that is an excuse. So Malcolm was around for a pretty long time, 54 years. He was past half 100 years old. But that is relatively short, especially into that statistic of African Americans, which we know that for sure that Africans have more people. Africans are more relatively more stronger, right? If you had an all football team or basketball team, obviously you wouldn't win too many games. So, those Kobe Bryants, those Michael Jordans, those Malcolm-Jamal Warner, to be exact, exemplifies what America truly is. Not just the statues. I mean, right across the street, we're seeing people that we have to change what America really truly is. But he played a part that changed the idea of what African Americans are and what African Americans represent. And that was exemplary for this gentleman to sacrifice his life, really and truly. He really and truly sacrificed his life for a role on TV. And he really and truly put all of his passion. And it's there for us to rewind and see and enjoy and to laugh. And I think America is hurt by this tragedy. And, I'll be reading some of these comments. Please make sure that you understand the importance of African-American capitalism. We won't have to love it, but we have to be a part of it. Always go to $ at Photography Plug, Cash App to promote. Remember, the Beatles were even banned. So it doesn't mean, sometimes when a huge company has a spout with you, it doesn't mean that it's going to help their cause of it all, my friends. That just means that, yes, they know that you exist and they know that you're a possible threat. I remember one time I put Saturday Night Live. They hit me right at, no, you cannot do that. So it is certain things that even in social media or even, it's certain things that people actually, go through in life. And that is just a reality of this life that we all did not choose. So this is very sad news. Malcolm-Jamal Warner passed away at that middle age at 54. That's not so terribly old. He did live past a half 100, but that is a very sad thing. We'll be staying live as long as we have a nice little flow. I'll stay live and let you see this nice, beautiful night. If you're not familiar, or you're familiar with a photography plug, sometimes we come out here. Now, we party a lot. We have fun. Tonight is a more serious night because Malcolm has passed away and lost his life. The Underground Railroad was a system of trustworthy people and marked routes used by African Americans to escape slavery. Why is this important? Harriet Tubman, the real deal. I promise you, tomorrow I have to work, but I promise you that I will take you to the Harriet Tubman tree. It's right here. You see how dark it is right here? Harriet Tubman was here. And why we're talking about that is because, yes, we are talking about Malcolm that passed away. He was an African-American. African-Americans escaped travel. Thousands of men and women and children, guided conductors traveled on foot or special vehicle along the networks, hiding places and stations. And John Denver became the first passenger to use a link. My point of the matter is, my friends, is very important issues that we have to it's very important issues that we have to talk about. I think Malcolm actually solved a lot of those issues for us by not being out on the corner and screaming and yelling, not allowing the police to come but he did it in a different way. He did it in a different fashion. I told my own son, I said, son, you have to learn how to fight. Even though I taught him how to fight, I don't mean just physically. It's not just physical or mental, but in a charismatic way that you can change the world. It's a way that you can change this world in a positive and not just one of the great professors said, get in good trouble. I forgot who it was, John, I can't think of his last name, but he was a congressman. He said, get in good trouble. And what he meant was all trouble is not bad trouble. Get in good trouble. And I think that's what he did. He was in good trouble. That he never was in trouble. I never heard of Malcolm being arrested. I never heard of him being in the back of a police car. I never heard of him being at a Diddy party. But I did hear that he was a great father and a great philanthropist, that he actually gave back, and a person to be around. I never heard of him cussing or starting fights. I never heard of Malcolm doing any of those things, just positive endeavors. And obviously, all of us can't be as good as Malcolm was. Some of us have different fights than Malcolm has. Yeah, some of us have different fights than Malcolm has. Some of us don't necessarily have the same finesse 2 times that Malcolm had, because we're all just human beings. None of us are perfect individuals, but we're all just, human beings that make normal mistakes. I'll be reading some of these comments. Somebody that just commented, is this Portland? No, this is not Portland. If this was Portland, I promise you we'd be getting a lot of views. I know you probably see a lot of the people that's impoverished out here. But if this was Portland, this would be, it would be, I don't walk down certain streets if it's a narcotic problem so bad, even though I have the grit to. In other words, I've been exposed to all the dirt and the grime that kind of comes with, in other words, if a pregnant woman comes out here or but if a pregnant woman comes out here, obviously her pores will open up a little bit more. So I see like in other cities where people just go up to these people that's addicted, like they're not being exposed. Yes, if you walk down those streets, you're being exposed to those narcotics. So it's very important to know that where to walk and where not to walk, Because if you put yourself in a situation, you can just look it up online. Uh, that different officers, different people just run into a box of whatever. You don't know what it is. Next thing you know, that individual is laid out on the concrete, and they have to bring them back to life if they're lucky. So always keep that in mind. I see those videos, and I don't know if people have on a mask or what they're doing to walk down those streets, but it's very troubling to see individuals like that, and we really need to do something about them. Well, we're going to stick to the subject at hand, Malcolm, which was a Cosby star, played on the Huxtables, unfortunately passed away due to a tragic swimming accident. This did happen Sunday. Today is Monday. I think it happened Sunday. I think they waited to inform the family, and when they waited to inform the family, obviously it broke on Sunday. So this is tragic news out of Costa Rica, and obviously the funeral will be probably in America. We'll find out all the details. But one of the favorite childhood stars, one of America's, I can't think of a better actor in any color that was better than he was at his craft. Meaning not just great, but his popularity. Everybody knew who he was. I mean, everybody knows who Raven Simone was when she was a kid. Everybody knows who Bill Cosby is, as far as what we know. But it's a very big world. Some people don't. I've actually been to South Africa and actually asked an individual, do he know who Tom Brady was? He said, we don't know. So, a lot of times we think American sports are worldwide just because they play one game in Europe. Some people don't know about them. Some people, not everybody knows. So never get to the point where you think that everybody knows. Now, one person they did know was Michael Jordan. And I've been a lot of places, and I always ask, do you know? They said North Carolina. They say, yeah. Do you know Michael Jordan? So that's one person I can say that everybody seems to know is Michael Jordan. Like I said, Malcolm competed with Michael on those nights. On those very nights, he competed with Jordan. Change the channel. Guess what's on? The Cosby Show. The Cosby Show competed with some of the biggest shows, sports events in the world, hands down. There's no question about it. The Cosby Show was one of the biggest shows. We should be seeing some graffiti, people drawing a little bit more graffiti, talking about Malcolm and the Cosby Show. Bill Cosby is obviously getting a lot older now. So Bill's getting older, and I don't know how long he's going to be around. So obviously this is very, very concerning news, and unfortunately you can't always talk good news, not in the world, not in the real world, not in a real way. That sometimes we have to report these terrible stories and talk about it, because some people out there are really grieving. Maybe you're handling it very well. Maybe it hasn't sunk in. Maybe you don't know the actor. But if you don't know what's going on, Malcolm from the Huxtable Show, that was better known as a kid star from the Huxtable Show, has lost his life due to a apparent a swimming accident in Costa Rica on vacation with his family. So that is I don't know, mixed thoughts. I can kind of think that if you're on vacation and you lose your life, I would think it would be better than being at work. So I'll be reading some of these comments and some of these very important comments right now. Malcolm from the Cosby Show, not sure I know him. Wasn't really watcher of Cosby Show, still ashamed. X. Joseph Thomas said, hey, hello, the Cosby, not the Huxtable Show. Malcolm was Arabian. I live in UK and I'm in my 40s. Shouts out to you. Your comments are so very, very important. So yes, that is, like I said, very, very sad news out of Costa Rica. Malcolm Warner loses his life due to a swimming accident. Guys, sometimes I mispronounce things. I don't say things 100% clear. This is a live show. Like I said, I'm not a perfect person, but I do want to continue bringing you this type of updated news. I think we do better on Monday night. Especially a lot more people are on social media now because of what's going on. They're just looking. When something happens, people go to social media. Sometimes everybody's not on social media every single night. That's common knowledge. So like I said before, and I go up here and we got a couple of, what can I say? It's a little graffiti up here before I kind of cut it short tonight. I actually have to go to get up early and head into work. I'm sure you do too. So if you're out and about or you're going out this weekend, enjoy yourself. Make sure you have a good time. But they have a little bit of graffiti up here, different celebrities and things of that sort. But we are getting close to that 150,000 subscriber rate. I greatly appreciate YouTube. We're still trying. Now, we made some money and we made some mistakes, but we're trying to get back monetized. We aced the system, my friends. And sometimes when you ace the system, they say not so fast. So you have to keep that in mind when you ace the system. You can see Kanye West up there. And this graffiti does kind of represent what America kind of stands for. You can see Kanye. You can see Jimi Hendrix at the top. You can even see Ric Flair. One day you'll see the photography plug. You can see Elvis Presley. You could see that Madonna. So, you know, even as popular as Malcolm was, you could see John Lennon at the very top. He still hasn't made that wall. So always when you are kind of getting down on yourself and you want to accomplish, there's Bob Marley, Elton John, Tupac Shakur, Eminem. So never get down on yourself. And I mean, you don't see so many other celebrities up here. You don't see, we talked about the top 5 rap artists. I mean, you have to include so many people. Obviously, Kanye. Obviously, not just top 5. We're talking about top 200. If we went to Wake Forest, or we went to A&T, or we went to UNC, and we said, yes, Duke University, we want to do an actual thing online that is an equation on who is the greatest artist of all times. You have to equate stadium sizes, record sales. You have to equate all of these things. You have to video views, quality of the video. I think they said Kendrick Lamar's recent Super Bowl performance had 5 Emmys or Grammys, and it deserved it because if you looked at that compared to Michael Jackson's Outside, yes, Jackson, oh, amazing, but the cameramanship, the videographers that made it look better. Also, you have to really consider, can old compete with new? I mean, this new technology. So I think this is what this represents. And I think kind of like what Malcolm represents. I don't think we'll have a half-staff flag tomorrow, but I think we should have one because that's how Malcolm represented, that's how much he represented America and what America stands for. He represented this American country so much by, like a Kanye West, maybe not a musical star. You always have to remember, when Kanye was competing against Karl Lagerfeld, I told my son, I said, Lagerfeld doesn't have a chance. He's a musical star. Music is different than acting. It's so much more powerful. The Tupac Shakurs, the Elton Johns, the Elvis Presley, the Kevin Gates, the John Lennons, the Willow Smiths, the Will Smiths perhaps, even competed against Malcolm. That Will Smith competed against Malcolm because he was a television superstar at the time. Will Smith has been a superstar for so many years alongside Malcolm Warner. They were all superstars, guys. So that's what that represents, and it represents moving America forward, never going in the backwards direction. No matter what, I don't think that anybody is actually trying to go in that backwards direction. So Malcolm wasn't either. And sometimes when you're going forward in life, that means that it could be the end of your life, but you never, in my opinion, should go backwards. Like somebody had a very great point. They said, you'll never open a door that you want to open until you close the door that's behind you. So I think that was a very great point. But yes, out of Costa Rica, bad news, very sad news. One of America's better actors and best actors have lost their life to a swimming accident. Bill Cosby even commented by saying it felt like he lost his own son. So, guys, we will go live again probably tomorrow night about the same subject. Hopefully, it is. In other news, it is a rapper by the name of Cash Out. And I like this graffiti art. But that rapper by the name of Cash Out was sentenced to life in prison earlier today. And he made a speech to the judge, but the judge ended up deciding to give him life for trafficking and sex trafficking of things of that sort. So I'll be reading some of these comments. Somebody said, I never ever commented it. I'm normally just nosy. Good comment. Hey, to you who's talking XX. Great comment. But like I said, greatly appreciate all the people that subscribe. And you can always go to $ Photography Plug. That's at Cash App. We are a black media company. Now, black media smells different. It looks different. It is different. Black media is just 100% different than what people thought it should be. So sometimes we seem to be talking in a way that a lot of people might not agree. But, you know, most of the time we are pro moving America forward by believing that even the smaller influencers of the world can prove to be some of the biggest influences of the world. Just like that child actor at 15 years old, Malcolm, never could have in a million years could have known that he impacted so many living rooms. He impacted so many kids going to school. He probably stopped so many fights because, you know, that if you were in the 80s and you went to school, if you had a you know what teacher, uh, you know that she felt a certain way about Black America, and that Black America, uh, and that Black America was felt upon in a certain way, and still is to this very day. I mean, I can just see the young lady. She looks at the curve. You see the curve is like this way. She's looking as if I'm in the way. But look, so it's a thing of like, for some reason, we intimidate people, and she's still like looking like she's scared. That's what. That's exactly what Malcolm showed America and tried to prove to America that no, we're not your threat. We're not the person that's, that's threatening. More than likely you'll be assaulted by your boyfriend tonight, but not by us. That is a reality. So, but I think sometimes people see other races, and I will say this, that a lot of times people just want to go home to their husband and tell them a story. Hey, I ran into this black guy today. Hey, this black guy was a problem today. Hey, so a lot of times it's not necessarily if a person doesn't have anything to do, they have to come back home and tell their spouse they did something today. So if they was assaulted by a black guy, then maybe their husband might be like, oh my gosh. So it's a conversation. So that's how I see that. Like when I see other races trying to down black people, I say to myself that they just want a conversation. They just want to go home to their husband. Oh, it's this black guy and he scared me to death. Would he do anything to you, honey? So I think that's the actual situation where people just want attention. When I go to Manhattan, if you look at those videos, they know I'm there because I see black women as beautiful. I see all people as beautiful. But I'm there to more so film the black stars, the Rihannas, the ones that are making all the noise, the Cardi B's. So if I'm out there with my camera and I'm shooting these black women, they looking at me like, why are you not paying attention to me? Because I am not just interested, and especially not a day where all these celebrities out here, if it's Kerry Washington and it's the average person walking down the street, who do you think you're going to film? Obviously not the average person walking down the street. That's why when people see me and sometimes they avoid the camera, feel free to do so, because you don't make our views. For the most part, black actors make our views, not some random person that's walking by on the street. They're not going to get us any views. So for the most part. So it's not saying that we don't like filming people. We do. There's a young man there, probably Malcolm's age. Imagine him being that 15-year-old boy, but setting records all around the world and showing people a different perspective of black culture, a different perspective on how you see black media, a different perspective on how you view a certain demographic of people, a different perspective on how you feel about a certain demographic of people, a different perspective. You might not like people that live in trailer parks. You might say, I don't like Eminem, or I don't like Detroit trailer parks. I don't think that's 100% fair if you haven't visited and gave those people a chance. Maybe you go and you like trailer parks. Maybe you go and you like low income. Everybody knows that the more demographic of people that's on welfare are whose. They're not African Americans. But in people's minds, they say, statistics by Duke University, one of the most racist universities in the world. UNC. We love UNC. I love that blue color. I love Carolina, but it's one of the most racist universities in the world. So what Malcolm did was a really amazing thing, how he changed the perspective and the minds of people and how they felt about Black America. and how they felt about black families. Bill Cosby was that. And a lot of people said during his prosecution, it was just a huge witch hunt. The Bill Cosby, the whole thing, the prosecution was all just a witch hunt. Who was not partying at the time? So I think that is some of the things that people are talking about. Malcolm passing away, very sad news. Very sad news. Malcolm passing away at that very middle age of 54. That is very, very sad news. That yes, he has passed away. So keep that in mind when you are going to sleep tonight. That maybe he's sleeping very well tonight. That tonight he has no more worries. That he's done everything that he possibly can do to be, to change the culture and to change America and change the world in perspective. Maybe in a Mexican household, they're looking at Malcolm tonight and they're starting to understand black culture. Maybe they didn't understand it yesterday or last night, but maybe tonight they're starting to look at Malcolm and they're starting to fall in love with that character like we did when we were kids. And we love the show. So many people love that show. So I'll be reading some of these comments. So one of the comments said this individual doesn't know what data is. I don't know exactly what that means. Talking to yourself again. Somebody said talking to me. No, when we're offline, my friends, we're probably finished up with, maybe 50,000, maybe 100,000. So, when people say you go on social media, somebody said, this is about views, guys. This is about views. This is about talking about Malcolm. This is about success. This is not necessarily about, it's not about what you really want it to be about, or you wouldn't be on my platform commenting. You will actually be somewhere else. You actually think it's very important to be here. So I greatly appreciate the people that's here. But when we get offline, guys, sometimes we have 100,000, sometimes 200,000, sometimes it's 30,000, sometimes it's 50,000. So if talking to 50,000 people is talking to yourself, my friends, that is kind of ridiculously crazy. So if you think I'm talking to myself, people are commenting, people subscribing, people are understanding. The people that's not understanding are left behind. The city I'm in is about 30 years behind. It's another city that's about 35 years behind, which is Winston-Salem. But the city I'm in is 30 behind. New York City is 2 years behind. Everybody's behind a little bit. So Burj Khalifa was not built in America. So this is about social media. So don't be behind saying, man, I thought that guy was out there just, no, actually we're building a brand. We're becoming those Malcolms. This looks like a very nice a Mustang, a lot of Mustangs and Challengers and stuff. I think I might have seen that. And that Elon Musk, obviously, Tesla that we seen for the first time. But yes, very sad news out of Costa Rica. Malcolm Warner losing his life to a swimming accident. He was a adorable 15-year-old that America fell in love with, the world fell in love with, even your teacher that was a little bit racist, like the Cosby Show. So one of my favorite shows was Reading Rainbow. I remember my second grade teacher, she would put it on. She was a very racist lady named by the name of Miss McGee. And she would call home. And I'm going to tell you, every time she called home, I would be in trouble. And Miss McGee would play Reading Rainbow. It was before Barack Obama, before we could think of a black president. So my president was Reading Rainbow and Bill Cosby. And then eventually was like a Jay-Z. So that's who I looked up to. before Barack Obama, before I knew about Reginald Lewis, before I knew about Ibrahim Tyree or Louis Farrakhan, which I think we love Lewis, don't get me wrong, but I think he got us in a lot of trouble. Being as radical as he is and amazing as he is, I think his ideals was not what America wanted to hear, especially not your teacher in the classroom. So I went to school and I talked about Louis Farrakhan, and my teachers was not wanting to hear that about Louis Farrakhan. They basically banned me like I was Colin Kaepernick. I was like the first Colin. So, I understand the fact of if you are just starting your company or you're just starting your brand and you want to have 150,000 subscribers, you have to start somewhere. And somebody said, if you're not good at public speaking, get good at public speaking. It said, a shy man, capitalism is not a shy man's friend. So if you're shy, this is not for you. If you're shy and you're bashful, you're not going to be rewarded. But if you learn how to be a public speaker, and you learn how to be an actor, or you learn how to be a videographer, or you learn how to be a photographer, or you learn how to be in Congress, or you learn how to be a senator, or you learn how to be a banker, or you learn how to be a when you call a delivery man, or when you start learning the system and start understanding what it takes to be successful, you might find yourself in a situation where you cannot believe how successful you are. And I think Malcolm reached the pinnacles of his success. I think he exemplified what African-American is. We're not knocking any outlaw, any thug, or any person, or great American president. We're not knocking anybody that's a felon, that's a 34 convicted felon. We're not knocking anybody of that sort, but we're just saying that somebody that's hearing my voice tonight has a business plan. They have a plan to be successful. They have a plan to be intelligent. They have a focus that is on a whole nother focus, not necessarily about a woman or a girl. Now, we need the beautiful women, don't get me wrong. Photography Plug would be nothing without beautiful women. But we will say this: Trouble in Atlanta was killed over some woman, right? So we have to think about that idea of what we're going to be, what exemplifies who we are. Maybe not acting, maybe not dancing, maybe not singing, maybe not rapping, but maybe an idea that nobody ever, maybe the technology is not even there, but we're here to inspire you, and we're here to make you inspired, and we're here to change that algorithm, to be the algorithm, to be one of the bigger companies in American and world history. So I greatly appreciate everybody tuning in tonight, guys. I'm going to end the live in a few. I'm going to ask you guys to walk me to the corner, then I'll be heading home. I'll be actually just enjoying myself heading home. And when I get there, I will obviously be probably getting something to eat. And then I'll be getting up and getting ready to go to work tomorrow. So, like I said, I greatly appreciate all the support, everybody's support in Photography Plug. We're very close to 150,000 subscribers. I did want to set up a system that was impossible not to be victorious, and it is seeming that way now, because even I want to walk away from a system and place the system and say it's an impossibility for this not to be successful. So if you want to contact us to help your YouTube grow, we can do that too. If you want to contact us to help your IG grow, we can do that too. Twitch is a new form and method of people using. I like Twitch a little bit better because it doesn't look like you have to be up close and personal. They're not looking all into your face like IG or any other. I think Twitch, you're kind of filming from a distance and filming for a long time. So it is about advanced. You thinking about It's a difference between intelligence and advanced. I never said I'm intelligent, but I said I'm advanced. In other words, if you have Google, I can spell anything you want me to spell, right? If I don't have a connection, then I'm in trouble. But if you're advanced, you might drive, you might have a car, you might not have a license. Oh, oh no, I got to go around the other way. You might not have a license, but you have a self-driving car. So that's advanced. It's a difference of being advanced and intelligent. I teach that people need to be advanced. If you're intelligent, okay, nobody has 100 years to be the most intelligent person in the world. But if you have the technology, my friends, I like to end this show by saying, yes, Malcolm changed America as an African-American artist. He changed and shaped what America actor. He changed and shaped what America thought of that African-American family. Every single day that we wake up, we still see the faces of these people that pretend to be so afraid of us. When we talk about, there's Mac Miller right there. Rest in peace to Mac Miller. He's a great person, a great artist, but he appropriated black culture, meaning he profited off of black culture. Mac Miller there that just came on. He wasn't like Malcolm. Malcolm was actually African American. A lot of these guys pretend to be African American and wear the Rolex like we do, put the earrings like we do, and sing the rap music like we do. And now we go to China and we see them appropriating black culture with their backs turned to us, saying that, oh no, we appropriate black culture. We're not only just going to steal it, we're not even going to acknowledge that you exist. So they'll be doing some type of black culture that doesn't even make sense. Like some type of, they're bringing the best cameras in the world, and they will do all of these things to these dance moves and these rap moves and pay for 1 billion views. And then you look at them like they're successful. They're not really successful. They're just, like MTV gave Eminem the best, nobody knows 5 lyrics from Eminem's last album, better yet 1. So it is a thing where people are still using, it is a thing where people are still using black culture for the benefit of whatever you want to call it. So, what I'm talking about, capitalism. So Mac Miller probably was worth $100 million now, and his family is basically living off of black culture. So Malcolm did represent black culture. The Cosby Show represented black culture, that beautiful American black culture that's never been seen before. It could not have been shot in South Africa. That could not have been shot in Jerusalem or Johannesburg or Brussels or Paris or even in Ethiopia, in Addis Ababa. That could not have been shot there. It had to be shot in America to make something for Americans to adore. Malcolm changed the world by doing that, and again by competing against that Michael Jordan. When Chicago Bulls went off and they won the championship, the Cosbys was on. That's how impactful Raven-Symoné and Malcolm Warner was. That's how impactful they are still to this day. So that is something that is very, very important for as far as black culture. Guys, I'm going to go and end this live. I got a little hump to go. I realize that I do have a lot of people still on live, and we can sit here and get more views. And I want the more views, don't get me wrong, but I don't want to give you guys a bad show. And like I said, at Photography Plug, we really do care about our audience. Whether once we get 200,000 subscribers, my friends, that'll be a sure destiny to the top of the Eiffel. Not the top of the Eiffel, but the top of Everest. Once we reach 200,000 subscribers, it won't be much the haters can say because it's all organic. But again, terrible, terrible news. Very sad news out of Costa Rica. Malcolm from the Huxtables, very star show, the Huxtables, has passed away at the age of 54 years old. Like I said, a little bit over half 100. That is an accomplishment for any person. You have to think about so many people that just didn't make it that long. They died in their teens, even didn't make it past 10 or 11. So the accomplishments this gentleman has accomplished is something for the record books, my friends. It's something for the record books. I greatly appreciate you guys. You have a wonderful night. We'll try to be live again tomorrow night. If not that tomorrow night, it'll be the following night. But like I said, guys, I greatly appreciate you. This is the end of the show, the Photography Plug. I'm sending much love out, much love to all the people that love the Cosby Show and the Huxtables and Malcolm, Raven and Bill and all the cast members. Rest in peace to Malcolm.